when you look at the whole elevation profile, this section looks really small in comparison. And then when you're actually in it with 100 plus Ks already in your legs, you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to episode 11 of the Gary Word Trail Running Podcast. Here again with my co-hosts, I've got Mark.
Nice to be back.
And I've got here Pat.
Hello.
And we've got a really special guest today, Kelly. Thanks for coming and joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And without further ado, also I just want to acknowledge the traditional custodians and the lands which we're trail running and which we're talking, the Djapurrung and Jawajali people who've hung around these lands for tens of thousands of years. It's displayed through local rock art, especially in this area that we're talking about today. So I just want to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. A little reflection of mine, because I'm not very good at doing acknowledgements and haven't really done many in my time. So I've been sort of asking people and thinking about it and trying to figure out how, as trail runners, we can pay as much respect to the land as we can, and as well as we can justify our connection to the land and really sort of reflect on the Indigenous cultures and Aboriginal people's connection to the land as well. It's something that we can share and something, you know, we're so privileged to have around here. Also want to say thanks for the opening music featuring the Nang Nangs. Some upbeat tunes, bit of a lively start to the show.
Local band. There's about 9 people on stage. They're brilliant to see if you ever get a chance.
So what we're talking about today is starting at Cassie's Gap Road. We've got an 11 kilometre section and we're sort of getting towards the end of the GPT.
Maybe for context, we're actually now in the GPT training camp, and I think we're incredibly lucky to have Kellie Angel on the pod for this 11th section, because back in 2023 at the very first GPT, Kellie took out the GPT miler with an incredible run. I was sort of curious because, Kellie, you're sort of almost a local in these parts without living here. Do you want to talk a bit about your background with Gary Word?
Yeah, sure. So it's become a really special place for me and my husband. I was thinking about it earlier today, and because we were talking about Wonderland, and I think that's what first brought us to Halls Gap, doing Wonderland Run, and we did that for a few years, and then we actually started running some training camps here, which was really fun. We were so excited about the trails that we wanted to share them with everyone else and give them some good skills here in the mountains.
So you guys were coordinating and running it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think we were on 2 or 3. And then something just kept drawing us back, and we ended up getting married here. And then the minute I heard there was going to be a race the full length of the Gramps, I had to be there.
Fantastic.
It's pretty impressive. Also, current course record holder. We've got a few little helpers today, and they're not very big helpers.
No.
Obviously, this run came on the back of being a relatively new mum, and that, you know, it's such an amazing achievement in itself. But do you want to talk us through what that experience was like?
Yeah, I guess I had Atticus in the middle of COVID in 2020, and we were well and truly in the midst of COVID, and I didn't get to race again until I was pregnant with Hux. And so I did 3 races early pregnancy with him. Oh, wow. They all went really well, actually. Yeah, I was sort of hanging out because I hadn't really been able to race properly for like quite a few years then. So I was lucky enough to do a few early races, maybe from about 6 months postpartum. I was pretty strict in my return to running. I didn't do any running until about 12 weeks after, and just slowly rebuilt with a return to 5K program. And yeah, went from there, and I was lucky enough to make the Worlds team for Innsbruck. We decided to take the family to Europe for 3 months. And so It was a really nice build because I sort of started with Worlds and then 2 weeks later ran Lavaredo, the 80K, and had the race of my life. Like, I came second, but I felt like I won the race. Because it was like my first ultra postpartum, and it'd been a few years since I'd really had a good crack. And yeah, it was awesome. And then, we hung around in Europe and did a whole heap of Vert K races and just little local races. And it was really fun, and finished with CCC that didn't quite go to plan. I was a bit sick and came home, and I don't know if I'd signed up earlier or not, but it wasn't until after that I was like, yep, okay, I'm ready, I'm fit. Just spent 3 months in the Alps and ready to go. So
that's so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I would have been, because Hux was born in July, so I would have been 16 months postpartum, maybe, something like that. Is that my maths right?
Close enough. Yeah.
Have you got any other advice for others looking to return to running after becoming new mums and things like that?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just being patient. Like, it's such a part of our identity that, you know, people feel a bit lost when they can't run, and so many people are they just really want to get back to it as soon as possible. But there is starting to be more research and evidence out there, and as a bit of a science background myself, you know, I was pretty keen to try and stick with what was recommended. And, you know, as hard as it can be waiting 3 months without running, like, there's so many other things you can do. And like, I really think taking that extra time and focusing on strength and just walking and spending time with your new baby is well worth it, and I think it's going to pay off in the long term.
Just coming back to coordinating camps up here, like running camps, I guess you've done a lot of talking to people about what's different about these trails and what's a bit unique. Like, a lot of people say it's a little bit different. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I guess number one, I feel it's a really spiritual place. And I was talking to someone today that, you know, they're saying this is the first place they've ever been to where they really feel the magic of this environment. And, you know, there's something really special about that and being immersed, especially on the whole length of the trail. Like, you're just immersed in the mountains, you know. Then, you know, you've got the rock. There's just so much rock. You need to know how to step on it. You need to know which steps to trust and which not to. You need to know how to run on camber, and then how to navigate, because it is really easy to take a wrong turn here. If you go 1 meter the wrong way, you might miss the Dorito, and then you've got to figure out where you're going. So
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
We're meant to know the trails.
Today, we ran like the first sector as part of the training camp, or the first and a little bit of the second. I took 3 wrong turns. Yeah. Like,
on a trail that you've probably done 50 times.
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing, isn't it, when we have a training camp in our backyard, and because I probably did 2 or 3 wrong turns as well, and you've got a whole bunch of people sort of semi-watching you to see where you're going and where they should go. And
yeah, we're just talking about being locals. Oh yeah, we've got this podcast, and then we're going the wrong way. It's like, look really credible.
Like, I think you realise pretty quickly that you lose the trail, you know.
Yeah.
But it can disorientate you for a bit. So, you know, for me, it's teaching people where the worn rock is and how to read the rock and where the people have travelled on it.
I feel like so many people have gotten lost that the wrong route is now worn.
Yeah, well, that does happen too, definitely. Definitely.
I thought it was, good advice that you gave people before the camp today, of like always looking for that different coloured path where there's worn rock, and if there's a shortage of Doritos or rock cans, it's a really good way. Yeah.
I was trying to get Nigel to get the Dorito to sponsor the race. I thought that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
So talk us through, like, I'd really like to hear, because a large part of this podcast, we reflect on the GPT 100 event, and we obviously talked about your win in 2023, but in 2024 you did the stage relay with a couple of friends as well. Do you want to talk us through the 2 events and how you found those experiences?
Yeah, so they're both really different. The first year, obviously, was solo, and we had torrential rain for 28 hours.
Very different years, yeah.
I was sitting on the bus today having PTSD. Just so, like, I remember this drive, and about here is when the lightning strike started to start. and this rain, the torrential rain came down. And, you know, it was amazing because the rain stopped for the race start. It was lovely. And then about 30 seconds in, the heavens opened up again. And I don't think it stopped until sunset. And I clearly remember about a 5-minute window where we got a really nice sunset on Mount Rosea. And then right at the very end, it just to like have its final laugh, it just bucketed about 10 times worse than it had for the whole 28 hours. And me and my face were just cracking up. It was hilarious. But yeah, so that was like, it was amazing. I had a really great time despite the rain. And, you know, I was really proud of myself for getting through that. And I didn't get sick in that race. Like, I was a little bit worried about nutrition, but I actually chose to avoid gels for that race. So I probably had 2 gels for the entire race.
Whoa.
So I just stuck with real food. I had heaps of noodles. I had potatoes, Vegemite sandwiches. Yeah, I just took a really different approach to my nutrition because it hadn't really been working, and I didn't get sick. It was the first time I'd run with pacers as well, and that was really nice. I didn't even have that much caffeine, but just having different people to talk to, it kept me awake. And yeah, it was was really nice having other people to run with, and especially during the night because, you know, we had the lightning storm, so we had to take cover for a little while, and I was on the big rock slab on the way up to Seven Dials, so we're not the best place to be stuck in a storm.
Exposed,
So I had Mikey with me at that point, which was nice, and it was really good having him to help navigate through that section because the fog came in and visibility was probably at a metre max, and, you know, surrounded by cliff edges, and it's not really that comforting. So we ended up, you know, probably 5 people joined onto my train, and Mikey was helping us keep moving forward. So that was a nice experience.
I was going to actually just ask about the nutrition again. Just we're pretty data heavy on our nutrition, and you're saying that you just had some Vegemite sandwiches, noodles, spuds, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Were you counting calories or kilojoules or no carbs?
Not at all.
No? You just eating when you were hungry, or
I was just trying to get food in when I could. And I just really didn't want to get sick because coming off the back of CCC, it was the first time I'd ever vomited in a race, and just not very fun.
I get a really bad bonk if I'm not fueling properly. Were you able to monitor that, and did you know enough from your previous race experiences that you could kind of monitor that and just feel, oh no, I need to get more food? Like, we're aware of your body and...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was really interesting. I probably just tried to stuff my face at the aid stations when I could, and I can't remember what else I had in between. I definitely had some liquid nutrition as well, but the majority was solid food. And I think I just tried to keep drip feeding myself along the way, and that seemed to be enough. I still felt like I was moving very slowly. Like, I really feel like this race can be done by a woman in under 24 hours. And so I wasn't moving that fast. And I think the weather did not help with that. And obviously the 20 minutes or half an hour that we stopped for lightning as well. But yeah, I think I could definitely eat more and try and have a bit more energy to move quicker. But yeah.
And then going to the 2024 event, totally different.
Completely
race.
opposite. So I ran with Sarah Tapp and Sarah Ludovici, and Sarah was also pregnant at the time, early pregnancy, and it was the best one ever.
That's right. You had an interesting team name, didn't you?
The Awesome Foursome.
Yeah, that's right. Three-person
Trying
team.
to figure out if anyone could figure that out.
Yeah, three-person team called the Awesome Foursome. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was 4 of us running. But it was such a fun format because we all got to run every day for a short burst and just bang it. You know, we could just go hard and you know, back it up the next day. And it was, I really, really enjoyed it.
Did you find, like, you obviously knew the Sarahs prior to racing, but I found, like, because the 3 of us did that same format in 2023, you know, the bond that you form racing together like that over cheering each other on, getting to experience the whole event's pretty incredible. So did you find that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I know both of them quite well already, but yeah, definitely. It's the whole camaraderie, and you know, it was a little bit more challenging obviously on the logistical front because you've got to make sure you can keep car shuffling, and when you have 2 car seats in the back of your car, that makes life a little bit harder.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because I think the other 2 didn't have cars here because Luke was working as well, and no, we made it work, and yeah, it was great.
And did you manage to arrange that you got to run your favourite part of the trail?
I can't remember how we worked it. I think I just drafted it, keeping in mind that Sarah was pregnant, so sort of tried to give her some of the easier sections and sections that weren't in the heat of the day as well. I think we just wanted to make sure that each of us had like a longer segment, and yeah.
I reckon, given one of the team members was pregnant, you probably had to take a different approach than we did to allocating the legs, where we actually went down to the local wine bar here, Grampians Wine Cellars, and picked out 3 different coloured beer cans, and we'd allocated the different legs to different colours, and then they were hidden, and they just came as like a lucky dip out of the hat about which legs you were going to get. So.
I think also I didn't give myself the first leg for any of them because I knew we had the kids, and I knew that was going to be an extra challenge. So yeah.
Do you have any favourite trails throughout the national park?
One of my favourite is what we did last night up Chautauqua Peak. It's short, but it's spectacular. It gives you a really good perspective on the mountain and how it's formed. Yeah.
The segment that we're covering today is from Cassidy's Gap Road through to the Banggook car park. So this is the second last out of the 12 sectors. Some stats on this one. It is 11 Ks long with 650 metres of vertical gain, so quite a bit compared to the surrounding segments, 730 metres of descending. And this one has got a few big peaks in it. You go over Signal Peak and you go over Mount Abrupt as well. There's a lot to this segment. I always find there's a lot of vert, but as opposed to a lot of other vert on the trail, it's incredibly well built, like sculpted rocks, sculpted stairs and everything.
The ascent up Signal Peak's magnificent. Like, that new section of trail was built up there is an amazing bit of trail building that actually heads up through the escarpment. A lot of the others, the sections of the trail on here kind of skirt around or you go around the back. This one, they've actually managed to build it up through the escarpment, and it's tough though, but it's a pretty amazing experience.
So you get up Signal, and then you're looking across at Mount Abrupt, and it's like, I don't know.
You know you have to get there at some point, don't you?
But yeah, spectacular views. And so you sort of go down to a saddle on the way to Mount Abrupt, and then you've got another climb. It's not as much vert climbing up Mount Abrupt going that way, and you get more views. You can look a little bit south, down past Mount Sturgeon and south of that. And then you've got a super steep descent.
Pretty fun.
There's a lot of stairs, and it's super steep down the back of Abrupt.
I reckon that view looking back north from Abrupt too is one of my favourite in the park.
It was spectacular last year, especially because we ended up above the cloud. Yeah, it was really cool.
Just punching through the fog blanket at the top of Abrupt and just seeing the peaks sticking out in the distance. Yeah.
It was awesome. One of the key factors here is when you look at the whole elevation profile, this section looks really small. In comparison. So when you're going through this, you're like, there's just like 3 or 4 little peaks at the end. I can get through that, no worries. And then when you're actually in it with 100 plus Ks already in your legs, you're like, fuck.
For our listeners who are wondering, the kids are not in the room currently.
Right. I know because I was doing the stage solo race last year, so getting to run with you at the stage relay runs at the same time as the stage solo, and you're flying past me quite regularly during those events. But I do know in particular Section 11 flew past me heading up Signal Peak. But I think you did pretty well, and you and your team, in terms of some of those records. We've talked about Strava a bit on this podcast, and I assume there was a fair bit of silverware. I assume there's a fair bit of silverware, but I wasn't sure if you're on Strava or not. But I just
tried to find you.
Yeah, so looking at the times, at least on Strava, the fastest time is Oscar Buck in the 2023 event with a 1:08. Oscar is part of the Esk Valley Orienteering Club, who we give shout-outs to throughout this podcast a fair bit because we were competing against them in the 2023 event. I say competing, but that's a generous expression.
Yeah. We were lagging behind them.
The second overall on this segment with a 1:18 is also the fastest female, Artemis the Huntress, in the 20...
Who's that?
Well, it is in the 2024 event. Just out of interest, Kelly, which did you do this? You were a part of the team stage relay.
Maybe.
Am I picking up something here?
Look, all right. Maybe. My husband made me a Strava account one day. I did not choose that name.
Whoa.
Oh.
Really?
Oh.
We've actually been, because we always see this name come up all around Gary Word. And we're like, who is Artemis the Huntress? They're so bloody fast. So is it what we're hearing?
It might be.
I reckon we've heard it here first.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, look, I don't really use Strava, but every now and then, sometimes I turn the runs on public. And it's not that it's a secret, it's just that I just have enough of my life on social media already. Yeah. Oh, I spend way too much time on my phone already. And I race enough already, and I didn't want that to be a thing that I focused on every day in my training. So,
of course. Well, for the one that you put on the 24th of November 2024, super impressive to have the second fastest overall time.
Look, I'd be posting that time as well if it were me.
Was that for the whole section?
For the whole section that we're talking about, yeah.
Cool.
So it's even better to have you on for this for this episode. Fourth, Mark White.
Oh, he's a good bloke.
With a 1:19.
It's only a minute. However, can I say I actually lost about 30 seconds at the very end. I don't know if anyone saw the video that my husband took, but as you come into the aid station, you get to a T intersection and turn left. The kids were there. I was giving them a high five, and I was like so set to turn right. And I ran right, and he's like, "What are you doing?" So I had to turn around.
That is good, Merc, because I know in that 24 event I was heading up Signal Peak, and you came flying past me, and just the technique you're using on the ascent, it was really efficient. That really, really fast, light feet, just getting up. Is that something that you've had to work on?
No, I have a very high cadence, just naturally on the flat. People would be running beside me and just be like, "What are you doing?" So I think that actually just really helps me on that sort of terrain, actually.
What about descending? How do you fare against others and how do you approach it?
I think I'm okay. It goes through waves, I think, because descending technical trail takes practice, it's a neurological skill, and it takes confidence, you know. So if you don't do it for a while, it takes a long time to get it back, I feel. So that was one of the main skills I feel that faded after both pregnancies, was just that technical downhill stuff. And, you know, spending time in Europe really helped, and spending time with my husband back when he was running a lot more really helped, because he'd put me in really shit situations that I had to get out of. Or he'd like give me a head start down Glasgow and then chase me down, and I'd try and stay in front of me. So we had fun ways of doing it. So I've become better at it over the years, but it's something that fluctuates, I think.
I know one of my memories from this section was in the 2024 GPT training camp. There was Jeremy May, a good friend of Mike Dunstan's, was there, and he was doing a bit of filming, and I was going down the back of Abrupt, down those steps, and I heard like a war whoop behind me.
Yeah.
And I just stood aside. And he just flew. I could not see his feet, and I couldn't figure out if he was landing on every second step or every third, or whether he was just... It was amazing. I've never seen anyone run downstairs.
If it's the same Jeremy you're talking about, he just did the FKT for Perry's Look Down last week. So
it's the same Jeremy. Yeah.
Yeah. That descent down Abrupt, though, it is like, I know why he was getting so excited, because it is extremely fun. And like, you start off, you're at the top, and you got these massive car-sized boulders that have been put in as rock steps, which are a bit slippery. I did end up upside down in a bush in the 2023 event, but that's all right. I was still able to continue. But then you descend a bit. You descend into this, what's not only long unburnt, which is quite rare for the Grampians, but also unforested sort of open stringbuck country. And there's this little pocket just under the summit. As you descend further, you've got these sort of, you know, southern-facing slopes and aspects that are quite unique for the rest of the trail too. And it is a really beautiful, technical, and just really enjoyable descent down that section of trail.
So that's unburnt as far as recorded history goes?
Long unburnt, I should say. Long unburnt, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
But yeah, so you get that descent. You got about a 3K descent, really quite technical. And then to end this sector is like this really flowy, well-built, about a 3% decline that is just so fun as well. You know, you hit that sort of flow state, and yeah, it's just really great running.
Just while you've been talking, I've just gone back and had a look at the stats for the Strava segment, 500 steps. So there's actually a segment for those steps down from Abrupt. And we gave Jez a bit of a shout out about what he did at the camp last year. He's actually second. The fastest time is actually Justin Dyer down those steps. So he's also here for the training camp.
Was he here for a recce, or was he here for the race?
He did this in a recce in July 2023, yeah.
That is a reckless speed.
I always find it amazing when people go and get these segments in a recce too, because when I'm doing a recce, I do it super slow and I take so many photos and I just like soaking it all in. Like, I'm never doing anything fast on a recce run.
I mean, I have known people to do a slow recce and then they're like, I reckon I can get that segment, and then they run back up. So I don't know if that's what Justin did, but he's about 4 seconds in front of Ches with a 2-minute 53-second segment.
They are hard to bomb down those steps too, so that's impressive. There's some really good segments on most of the ascents. Up signal, down signal. I think it's sending smoke signals, bobbing signal peak. And then you've got ascents, descents, down Abrupt and things like that. So there's a number of little motivators for those that like segment chasing out there.
I was disappointed when we don't go down the actual Abrupt trail now, because I've done the Abrupt challenge a few times. I might hold the record for that one. I don't know if I still do or not. You can look that one up.
Okay.
That is...
Running up and down that is like the funnest thing ever. Flying down that trail.
Because is that part of
the Peaks and Trails?
Peaks and Trails, yeah.
Because Peaks and Trails is a pretty fantastic event. I don't think we've really mentioned it yet, so we should actually touch on it, because it's a great event in that southern end of Garrett. Do you want to describe some of your experiences?
Yeah, so we've been there a few times. I've won the Abrupt Challenge and the 50K a few times. It's a really fun local community event that's still a bit smaller, and it really showcases the southern end of the Grampians, which is very different to the northern end. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the trails in that race, and which give you a pretty good idea of GPT for that side with Abrupt and Signal Peak. And
that's on at the start of August each year.
Yeah, so it's actually a really good lead-in race to do, yeah, I think.
The Abrupt Challenge, what's that entail?
So it's the Saturday before the event, and you just, back when I did it, you just rocked up whenever, and I think they send people off at different times. So, you don't all go up at once. You've got no idea who wins until the end. And they just stand there with a timer, and when they say go, you go as hard as you can. You blow your heart up to the top, you touch the can, and then you fang it down.
Do you have to provide evidence of actually touching?
Oh, I think there's someone waiting up there.
Yeah, to prove, yeah.
Yeah, and then they stop the clock the minute you jump off that final step back onto the road.
Because it's about 6.5k and about 450 metres vert.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Stats, man.
Can you, I don't have your times in front of me, but do you remember off the top of your head what you've done it in? Because it's pretty technical as well.
I'm going to guess it's around 40 something. Have you got it?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, maybe 45. I don't know. I'm really not a stats person. I don't remember anything.
And how about the 50k run there at Peaks and Trails? Because you kind of go over those peaks. So the first half's very technical and full of vert, and then the second half's a bit flatter running. Is that correct?
I think it's changed a little bit over the years, but it's got a lot of variety. There's, you've got the 3 peaks, so there's a lot of climbing, descending, but then interspersed with that, there's a lot of actual running as well. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, no, it is. And like you said, that community fundraiser for down there, really supported by that community, and it's a great thing if people want to come up and experience some of what Gary Word has to offer. Yeah.
I haven't run Peaks and Trails, but I've volunteered there and just looked like a fun event. And yeah, so community driven. It was cool.
Kellie, I know you've done a lot of running around the globe, and you were reflecting on spending that 3 months in Europe prior to the 2023 event. Can you just describe to people a bit more about like the difference of running here versus running in other places?
Yeah, so I guess the Grampians in itself is very unique. I can't say I've run anywhere else that is anything like this, so I think it's pretty special and pretty different. And with it now being a World Trail Major, that series, I think it's going to be really cool to bring some international people here to see what we've got to offer. I guess it's still a pretty small event compared to some of the bigger races I've run around the world, but I kind of like that vibe too. It's the really nice part about it because it is very community focused.
When you say it's different, are you talking like, the rocks underfoot is technical, or is it harder, easier? What sort of...
Yeah, the technicality and the rock, I think, and the impact that has when you're constantly going downstairs onto the rock. You wake up pretty sore the next day. And interestingly, my time for this race, I think, was exactly the same as my first time doing UTMB.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I can't remember this. Maybe this was 28:15 or something, and UTMB was 28:13. It was pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, wow.
That's a really cool comparison there. That's
considering they're completely different races.
Yeah.
Like UTMB, you've got really long climbs, really long descents. There's a little bit of technical stuff, but it's nothing like this. You don't have the really long climbs here. There's obviously a lot of climbing, but it's a lot more undulating.
So you're saying if I complete the miler this year,
you may as well have just done a UTMB.
Equivalent to
Exactly.
completing UTMB. Tick. Yeah,
Exactly.
cool.
Except UTMB is 10,000 metres vert compared to 7,000 something for this.
7,700. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, so I thought it was an interesting comparison.
We can round up 7,700 to 10,000 just for you, Pat.
At least you don't need any running stones for this either. What advice would you give to people who are considering coming here to run or just get immersed in the trails or doing one of the events?
I think if you're going to race here, I highly recommend you come and see the trails, because I imagine coming and doing this race when you've never seen the trail would be really daunting. Once you're out there, you'd be like, holy shit, what have I got myself into? Because it really does take practice to understand how to negotiate the terrain, I think. And then we were talking today about, okay, well, that's great, but how am I going to train for this at home? Because it's really hard to find anything this technical or anything around Melbourne. We were talking about maybe heading to the cathedrals. You've got to negotiate a bit of rock and scrambling and stuff. I think a little bit of stair training will help, but nothing is uniform here. It's all out of whack. Yeah, so it's hard. But also, if you're going to do the miler, I tell a lot of people to not worry about focusing on running everything in training, because you're going to be doing a lot of hiking. It's a slow race.
Yeah.
You're going to be spending a lot of time hiking. So, get out and do that and be used to doing that too.
You mentioned that, while you were pregnant and during the time that you had off running, you were doing a lot of strength training and that sort of stuff. Was there anything you could tell people or any advice you could
Yeah, I think just, use that window to focus on getting strong, do Pilates. There's lots of postpartum stuff that you can do with your baby out there, and get out and hike. I hiked a lot. It's a nice way to still get out on the trails in nature and, experience that whilst getting some aerobic fitness and getting some strength. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Change topic a little bit. Do you want to talk about a bit about gear? Got any favourite shoes that you wear? Any advice for hydration packs or any cool tidbits?
Well, we're talking a lot about shoes today because I did see a lot of Hoka's out there. So yes, Claus, I am sponsored by Hoka. I have worn speed goats for most of my racing here, and I've just found that I'm really confident with how they stick to the rock and generally pretty comfortable. I did swap shoes at one point in the miler. Mostly, I think everyone did because we basically had trench foot by about 20 hours in.
It was a rainy old time, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think you need to wear shoes that you're confident are going to have good grip and that you're confident are going to be comfortable on the camber of the rock as well. In terms of, we were talking about poles, where the poles are useful. I did carry them occasionally in the miler, and I stuck some rubber tips on the ends so that they would be a bit better on the rock rather than slipping off. I really didn't use them at all. Every time I got them out, I'd end up having to scramble or do something else, and they were just getting in the way. So I pretty much put them away and didn't use them.
I was thinking today, so we did a run, and I used poles for a fair bit of it. I'm kind of new to the pole cult, but just reflecting on getting up the stairs using poles, I could feel the fatigue growing in my arms, which I was really thankful for that fatigue not being in my legs.
Yeah. When you haven't used them for a while, you definitely get sore arms and sore tries. So it definitely pays to train with them as much as you can. And if you're going to use them, you want them to be an extension of your arms, you know.
I certainly remember that feeling. Like when I got into poles, it was like, what is going on with my body? Like my back hurt and then shoulders and then, it sort of got better with time. Managed to get away without doing any upper body strength training.
Oh, good.
Nice. But you do want to make sure that they're fitted properly. And interestingly, like generally for most people, that elbow at 90 degrees. But if you look at some of the Sky runners and the Vert K runners, I think sometimes their poles are actually a lot shorter because they're just going up.
I reckon we're pretty good.
I was just going to make a joke about how you look so good despite not having done any upper body strength.
That's all right.
You edit out all my best jokes. No, but thanks so much for joining us today, Kelly. It's great to hear about your experience and your love of the area. I really appreciate your time. So thanks for joining us. Also, thanks to the listeners for tuning in. And you can make sure you keep in touch with us. Gary Word Trail Running on Instagram. There's an awesome group that runs every Friday morning and also all through the week. You know, if you're part of the group, there's always a message out. Someone's always wanting to go for a run. So if you're visiting the area, come to Halls Gap or surrounds and make sure you jump into a run. Also, the Instagram account is just an absolutely wonderful resource for everything we're talking about. There's categorized runs, so if you want something easy, intermediate, or really difficult, you can jump on there. Facebook's also good. Not good in general, just good for Gary Word Trail Running. So get on there. Next up is Sector 12, the last segment of the GPT.
Last one.
Yeah, last one, which is a bit sad, I suppose, for all of us. You know, we're going to have to figure out what to do. We might need to get a job or something, you know, find something to do with our time. So, yeah, the last section. So we have a really special guest coming on for that. As I said, we've had Kelly on today, who won the inaugural GPT miler. And then we've got Michael Dunstan joining us for the next one, who also won the male version of the same event.
We feel pretty lucky to have the inaugural winners to sum up like 11 and 12 for this podcast. So thanks heaps, Kelly.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. Love talking about this place.
Oh, that's so good. Stay tuned. Don't miss the next episode. I'm just rambling now, so Pat can edit out all the other junk. Yeah.
And you guys let the fire go out.
Oh, no. All right. Next job.
Thanks, El.
Yeah, next job. Thanks,
Kelly.